Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with a request for grace, because this conversation is living very close to the surface for me. So I'm going to do my very best. But if I get emotional, I'm not going to apologize. I'm just going to say, go with it. Go with me for a second. So my name is Nikki Henderson, and I'm the executive director of People's Grocery in West Oakland. And I was hoping to bridge a bit of the visceral emotional response that I've been feeling from the poets with some of the information that we've been getting tonight with a personal story. Because that was really where all of this started for me as a young African-American woman growing up in Los Angeles. I am the daughter of two people that are very active in community. My father was student body president as a sophomore, brought Stokely Carmichael to speak at UC Santa Cruz, super involved, fairly angry, grew up on welfare, very poor, majored in economics, wanted to do something with his life. And when he thought about what he could do as a black man that would have the most impact on society, what he came to was being a father. He could raise his children. And to me, that still is so profound because he spent his whole life raising children, raising his own and raising other people's. I grew up with 7 older foster brothers, and my parents run a foster family agency together. He's the executive director, she's the administrator and psychologist in residence. And that's what they've done since I was 4. And then my mother, when it comes to what she wanted to do to impact the world, she wanted to raise healthy children. So I have all these stories about the diet that she was on before she got pregnant, the diet she was on during pregnancy, the diet she was on after we were born while she was breastfeeding, the diet she had us on while we were growing up. That's all she talked about, basically. And that's a lot of my memories growing up, was drinking that nasty wheatgrass and throwing up into the brown paper bag next to it because we had to be healthy. She was really clear. And why was that so important? I started to learn why that was so important when I went into middle school and my grandfather started having problems with his legs. And when I asked my mom about what was going on with him, she said that he had diabetes. And I said, what does that have to do with his legs? And she started explaining things to me, circulation problems that affect different limbs, and that's actually why Aunt Mildred's leg was amputated, and that my aunt also had diabetes. And I started going down the list of people in my family who had these severe health issues and realized that my immediate family were the only ones that weren't suffering from any of them. And I have a huge family, y'all. Huge family. Everyone was suffering from something. And the elderly people in my family, barely any of them die without having something amputated. A toe here, a leg there. So this lives very close to the surface for me, especially because my parents' marriage of social activism in the community with young black men and social activism around health and food, they walked in parallel. And I feel like that's what my life has become. Because at the same time, I was eating very healthy as a high schooler and coming home to well-cooked meals. When I was 15, my foster brother was murdered very violently. And these were the things that I just walked parallel. That was why that poem was so profound for me. I grew up as a part of both of those systems. I can't detangle them. I've never been able to detangle them. And it lives very presently because Trayvon Martin was going to the liquor store to get Skittles and iced tea. That's what he was doing when he was out late at night. That's what many of our kids do. One of the things that People's Grocery is doing around our grocery store project is to make it more than a grocery store. That's part of the tagline. Part of that is so that it is well lit. Part of that is so that there are evening activities on the front porch so that kids don't have to walk late at night with no streetlights to get food. And so I feel like part of what I want people to latch onto and part of what I want people to feel in their guts around food and health and African American communities is that the things that we experience every day, the survival mode, rat race that is experienced by so much of us every day is not divorced from any of these other issues we deal with. Housing and health and education and policy all live close to the surface in us when our children are murdered. It's all the same story. And if I had to make an ask of you, if I had to try to bring it all together, one of the things that comes up for me at People's Grocery all the time is this issue of translation. To do some real talk for just a split second with y'all. I am safe. As an African American woman, I can come up on stage and have an educated conversation with you about race without screaming, even though that's what I want to do. I want to burst into tears and lie on the ground and scream. But I am safe. I can come up here and have a civilized, cordial dialogue with you. And I consider this a privilege because for whatever reason, whatever my parents gave me when they raised me, I'm resourced enough to be able to scream and cry in one part of me and have this conversation with you in another. I'm a bridge. I can translate when that young brother is so angry, he's throwing bottles against the street and people are terrified of him. I can translate and say, you know what? You came to me to ask me about that because it scares you. I feel like that too. Do you want to sit down and have a conversation about why? So my ask to you is that you be a translator. You find that thing within your people that is hard to understand because it is complex and it is scary. Whoever your people are, however you define that. And you find a way to take that screaming part of you and have a cordial conversation about it without dampening or at all suppressing that part of you that needs to scream, because that part of you is real. Be grateful for it because it keeps you safe and because it validates the struggle that so many people who can't not scream feel. But if you have the opportunity to be a bridge, be the bridge. That would be my request.